Hello, folks, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chon Love, here to discuss Smackdown, which transpired yesterday or last night, which was a decent show as we are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. Yeah, but nonetheless, we are almost on the doorstep of WrestleMania, and things getting more clarity, and just progression. Now, SmackDown, obviously, we see the improvement amongst these shows, SmackDown and Raw, going into WrestleMania season. Obviously, we know the injuries have taken a bit out of, and the Vince McMahon drama, etc. But what we can say is the card has really shaped up nicely, and yeah, SmackDown, there wasn't a lot, but I mean, besides, the tag team qualifiers and more progression with the women, and we got Roman and Cody face to face, which, with The Rock and Seth Rollins all intertwined in this phase going into WrestleMania, it's different on all cylinders, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about, it's not going to be like full-fledged like one of my reviews. If you've been following last couple weeks, I've usually just dived in and talked about, SmackDown and Collision. There's none today, obviously, due to NBA games and March Madness. But we're here to talk what happened on SmackDown and give our thoughts. So, nonetheless, thank you. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. But let's get going, shall we? So, SmackDown, we start off seeing Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio returned, I believe, a couple weeks ago, or not too long ago, and nonetheless, the feud part with the Legado del Fantasma has still been there, and this match, I don't know if it's the best match that he and Santos have had, but still, it's been great seeing Santos as heel. Now, as we gear towards WrestleMania, so it has been a thought, with the tag team titles being part of this 6-pack ladder match. We know Rhea's gonna face at least Becky Lynch. Who knows, Liv Morgan and other competitors may be involved in that match, but we know those three, so that leaves Mr. Dominic Mysterio seeming to look like the one from the Judgment Day being left out on WrestleMania. Now, it's still a wonder, but Dominic Mysterio, in this case, at the end of the match, costs his father, with a distraction, cost Ray the match as almost insult to injury. So, or basically, as Santos hit 619, followed with a Phantom Driver for the win. And yeah, Santos get the win thanks to Dirty Dom, aka Dominic Mysterio. So we got that. Another qualifier going to WrestleMania with the tag team titles. Or actually, we also did see, so there's report that Nick Aldis suffered an injury and he wouldn't be in the ring, but at least we saw him in a segment. So Nick Aldis was backstage with Kevin Owens, and Pretty Deadly walked in and they were very upset, and how they mentioned they all have a match at WrestleMania, and KO was obviously ticked off by the interruption, and he followed suit and offered up a match for next week for Pretty Deadly versus him, a partner. So he mentioned, well, he had a very good partner a couple weeks ago for a match. Why don't we do that? So then Kevin Owens just happened to walk or look at a distance and asked, "Hey, will you be my partner?" And now all of a sudden we see Randy Orton, and one of Pretty Deadly gets shook up, and Randy says, "Oh, next week, yeah, I'll be your partner, KO." So then they walk off, but then Aldis tells the crew, "I wouldn't stand that close if I were you." And then Kevin Owens cocked both of them in the jaw and decked them. So there was that. Next week, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Pretty Deadly. I imagine Logan Paul will have a saying or something as regards to that. And then, speaking of tag team division, we had, well, they're not really a tag team, but it was part of the qualifier leading into WrestleMania. So we got Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, who have been a very good act, I'd say, and under the radar act, because Grayson, he's a bit outspoken, but he can talk. Or he's a bit different. So, but on his own, suspect. But, with Theory, because Theory's very good and very good in the ring. But as far as, personality-wise, they do kind of feed off each other in a way. So, we have them versus the OC, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, to turn, one of those spots, or finals of the bracket, to determine who would compete for one of those spots at WrestleMania. And Austin Theory and Grace Waller came out on top. Soul win here. Now, love all the parties involved, but yeah, strange to see, but yeah, right outcome. Excuse me. But yeah, Austin Theory, Grace Waller get the win, and will be part of WrestleMania. As far as the women are concerned, so we got attacked by Damage Control on Naomi and Bianca Belair. Naomi got missed in the face. But I think what was interesting and what we've been seeing out of Bianca Belair has been interesting the last couple weeks, where she's been... Bayley has been kind of the supportive now because she's against Damage Control and she wants to be amend the fences, but Bianca feels correct, and she, because I mean, let's face it, Bayley for the longest time, leader Damage Control, instigating these attacks, being at the forefront, and now she's the one of pity and one to console, and Bianca is not quite receptive to Bayley, and it's a funny thing because the best heels are the ones that believe they are right, and I'm not saying this is a heel turn from Bianca, but it's certainly interesting. Dakota Kai, because last week she main evented SmackDown against Bayley. Certainly interesting. Certainly now that she's back associated with Damage Control, and good that she's healthy again. One of the best, especially with concerns about Asuka's situation, but they're also teasing, it seems we may get Tiffany Stratton for... It seems like either Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair or Tiffany versus Naomi. We'll see. Another tag team match as regards to the brackets of the qualifiers of the tag team title 6-pack elimination or 6-pack ladder match. So we had the Authors of Pain versus, again, I love their faction with Paul Ellering, Karen Cross, and Scarlett. They face off against Street Profits. And because we know the history and the rivalry going on between those two groups, Street Profits got the win. Now, on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, Authors Pain kind of felt like they could use this win more. To be in that ladder match. I mean, it kind of feels it's definitely a unique situation because you got those teams in the ladder match already, and we'll see. We'll see. Karen Cross was not happy and had to be calmed down by Scarlett backstage, so yeah. However, the main event segment, which also, by the way, we will see Jade Cargill next week. Apparently, her first actual appearance as a Smackdown competitor. We did see a segment with her as she was backstage. You know, Tiffany Stratton and a number of the ladies were backstage, along with Nick. So that's really the only time seen her since the Rumble. Now, it's been funny seeing the feedback she's been getting online because, look, we know obviously she wasn't great with AEW, but she definitely looks the part. We know with WWE it's going to be a different story, or at least we think, because the Performance Center, etc., it's going to be their job to make her work. Because I'm not saying she has to be a 5-star wrestler, but we have to at least see that she can wrestle. It doesn't have to be squash matches, doesn't have to be for 3-man matches easily, but she has to show she can go. And hopefully all this training, all this time in the Performance Center, etc., has paid off, presumably. And now, hopefully, starting next week, they can get her orchestrated, and we'll see. We'll see. But the main event segment was, go figure, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, face to face. Now, I'm going to be honest, this vibe around Cody Rhodes going into this year's WrestleMania feels weird. Because, yes, he cut that hell of a promo on The Rock on Monday. But vibe feels weird because we do have the tag team match on night 1 between Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman. And then obviously Roman versus Cody on night 2. So it poses interesting dilemmas of Cody's not going to win on both nights. In fact, it probably looks better if Roman and Rock win on night 1 and then Cody ends up winning on night 2, you know, more so defying the odds. But yeah, the vibe around Cody feels weird because, I mean, let's be honest, it's been kind of all over the place, you know, with the situation of how, you know, excuse me. At first, Cody wanted to finish the story against Roman. And then it looked like Cody gave his opportunity to The Rock. And now all of a sudden that we want Cody movement took over, and then the press conference happened with Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth, and just boiled a number of what's next, or a bunch of questions of what's next. So then it seemed like they made things right, making Cody first Roman on the poster, and then they make the tag team match, and it feels like Cody's energy or his direction seems more on The Rock than it does Roman. It definitely feels like, in a way, this match is being kind of looked at as an afterthought. In a way. And the real main event of WrestleMania, the last real match, should not feel like an afterthought. Yeah, but so Roman was out there, talked about being true to his word, and that it was just him and the wise man Paul Heyman, and he dressed Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes then came out there. Then it was basically of, can you trust who? Can you trust who? Where, Roman asks Cody, can you trust Seth? Based on Monday, he was in a pickle and Seth was nowhere to be found. Then he asked if he could trust The Rock, and talk about Cody playing the same game as he played with The Rock, for numerous times the last couple of weeks. Cody offered to shake Roman's hand, but Roman did not oblige, and then shook hands with Paul. They left, and then unique, weird way to end SmackDown. So Jimmy Uso and Solo, they came out of the crowd in hoodies, and it seemed just to scare Cody. And then all of a sudden we see Jey Uso and Seth Rollins come out of the crowd to defend Cody, and just a weird way to end SmackDown. Yeah. Of course, we are intrigued for Jay versus Jimmy. I will admit that. And of course, Seth versus Drew, but get the point. Now, early in the show, also, we did see a interesting setup for LA Knight versus AJ Styles, where they play into an angle where LA Knight apparently showed up at AJ Styles' household, and they got into a brawl to the point the cops came up to arrest and take away LA Knight. And then all of a sudden you see AJ Styles and he's like huge. It's like, big, and yeah. But it was a unique extra sentiment to add to this story in this match, because LA Knight needs to go over. LA Knight at some point in the future has got to have some gold on his waist, otherwise people get restless, I feel. But should be an interesting match going into WrestleMania, I can tell you that. That one people keep an eye on. But yeah, that's basically my SmackDown recap of all the things that happened on SmackDown. Again, almost on the doorstep of WrestleMania. We shall see how things go. But yeah, interesting to going forward. But hope you guys enjoyed this video, and then see you guys next week for obviously AW review for Dynamite next week. Collision, there you go. Collision should be back, so keep up with that. Obviously, the tag team tournament will start next week, so keep your eyes open and give my thoughts. But yeah, give a thumbs up for the video, subscribe if you haven't, and yeah, thank you guys. See you guys next time. Peace.